Right, the 25 episode number 4. We're now into the top 10. My name's Jon Surtees, Mark Church, Yaz, Rana, Kirstie White alongside me. Let's get straight into it. Number 10, Gareth Batty. Who wants to go first on Gareth Batty? Yaz.
I actually had a question for Churchy around Gareth Batty. If we presume that Alex Stewart is the most influential figure at the club over the last 25 years, is G Batty number 2?
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. I think number 1 as a cricketer, brilliant off spinner, combative batter, combative bloke on the field, obviously. I think held this club together through a horrendous time. And I think without him here, it would have taken a lot longer to recover from the horrible things that happened in 2012. And I think now what you see is he's come in as a head coach. Remarkable, really, if you think that first season wins the championship, second season wins the championship, third season wins the championship, and he was very close to winning it again in his fourth season as head coach. So I think his influence around the club as well. I think, this is a bloke who they sort of, Jon said that if you cut Jade Dernbach, he'd bleed Surrey brown. I think it's exactly the same with Gareth, really, and I think Gareth sort of epitomises what this club is all about. But I think you've got to remember that time when Surrey lost Tom Maynard, and it was such a horrific time. Gareth almost put his own emotions to one side and worried about everybody else. And I honestly believe Surrey may not have got through that season without him. And then I think Rory Burns would give a nod to him in two directions. Number 1, setting him up to captain the side, because obviously Rory took over from Gareth. And with what they've achieved together as a head coach captain partnership. So 100%, and I think when Gareth does decide to hang up his head coaching boots, if that's the right description of it, I think round this place, I was stood in the long room actually earlier, and all the portraits there of Alec and Mickey and Martin Bicknell and Adam. I think there'll be a Gareth Batty portrait somewhere around this place.
Yeah, as you talked in the first episode when we were talking about Zafar Ansari about your days as a boyhood Surrey fan in the stands watching through that era of really exciting sort of sold out T20 games. Put yourself back in the shoes of sort of young Yaz Rana. What did Gareth Batty look like to you? The way that he played those games, that must have been something.
I really don't want to get on the wrong side of him, was probably my first thought.
Yeah.
But I think Churchy's right to mention his influence off the field since hanging up his boots, but you forget just how good a player he was, breaking back into that England side as he approached his 40th birthday. And yeah, as well, the way in which he oversaw a very difficult part of the club's history. And I spoke to him early this year. I asked him, what are you most proud about as a Surrey man? And one of the first things he said was overseeing the development of so many players who've gone on to do really special things. And it's not a coincidence that he's been a part of so many players who've had brilliant careers.
Yeah, and just shout out to that first over in a T20 game that he'd bowl on about 45 seconds flat, and then they'd end up 4 for none at the end of the first over. Suddenly they've only got 5 overs of power play left because Batty's sprinted to square leg to field of his own bowling to try and get the over done in less than a minute. Absolutely amazing. I used to love that over. Number 9 on our list. Interesting selection from the people that put this list together at number 9, but I think you could make, and we are about to make, I think, a very strong argument for number 9, Ian Ward. Kirstie, what do you think? Ian Ward, obviously one of the great broadcasters now, face of Sky Cricket, but a seriously underrated cricketer.
Well, yeah, so he had 5,738 runs, an average of 40.4. So, if you're averaging 40, you're well within your right of sitting in the top 10, in my opinion, here for Surrey. So, yeah.
5,000 runs, decent sample size as well.
So yeah, big sample size. Sorry,
I was just going to say that initially, when I was first sent this list, he was one of the names who I thought, oh, this feels a bit high at number 9 when just focusing on the 21st century. But then looking at what he achieved in 2002 in particular, so it's a title-winning year for Surrey. He scores 1,700 runs and scores 700s and 750s on top of that. I think quite often we remember county players sort of based on what the England conversation is at a given time. And it just so happened to be that the opening spots, the England team at that time, were so sewn up. That was Trescothick and Vaughan at their very, very best. But he had one of the, we were talking about Morkel in a previous episode, his season in 2018. But Walden 02 is similarly as vital in a title-winning year.
Yeah, I think you talk to any player from that era, and there are so many great names around that team, the early noughties, late 90s, then early noughties team. There are so many great names around that team. But if you talk to anybody in that who played around that time, it will not be long at all before they start talking about Ian Ward in hushed tones. I think he's one of those guys. He's a real Churchy, a real cricketer's cricketer.
Yeah, he is, and I think he was a fantastic opening batter. He won the T20 and made 50 odd in the final. The only year that Surrey won the T20 back in 2003. I was saying to Yaz that he's played one of the best innings I've ever seen a Surrey player play, and that was down at Canterbury, and Surrey were chasing over 400 on the final day, and they were 8 down when they won it, and Ian Ward walked off 168 not out, and that was Ian Ward all over, really. And I think what I love about him is a lot of people don't know him now just from his broadcasting, and he sits in the middle of all those great players, but people tend to forget that he did play for England. He played in an Ashes series. He made his debut at Lords against Pakistan batting at 7. He came up against one of the great Australian bowling attacks of all time, but he played Test cricket. He was a very, very good player. Left-handed. I don't think they'd have won those championship titles when they did without him. I think he was that important to them. And we sort of talked about the Sibley thing, where they had a certain Ramprakash coming in at 3. I would have thought for Ramprakash, he could put his feet up for a bit because Ward always did the business. So, just a very, very fine cricketer.
Very fine cricketer. Ian Ward is our number 9. Our number 8. Now, as you said, you think Ian Ward, initially when you looked at this list, you thought that Ian Ward might have been high at number 9. Here's someone who I think when we say this, people will think, whoa, that's low. At number 8, Adam Hollyoak.
So I'm very lucky to work with Mark Butcher on the Wisden podcast. We talk every week and have done for 4 years. And
you guys,
his consistently, when he's talking about a captain, he compares him to Adam Hollyoak. It's basically the Hollyoak scale. The closer they are to Hollyoak, the more he rates him. And he thinks there's a lot of Stokes in Hollyoak,
or even a lot of Hollyoak in Stokes.
Yes, the other way around. And I think he's so big on Hollyoak's ability to read a game, understand opposition's weaknesses, when to pounce, when to apply pressure, when to absorb pressure. And he says that Hollyoak is a totally enormous part of Surrey's success around the turn of the century. And we talked about Trailblazers in a previous episode. Hollyoak in white ball cricket, Hollyoak in T20 cricket. He averaged 11 with the ball for Surrey in T20 cricket. Again, doing stuff towards the back end of an innings that other players weren't really doing at the time. So I'm a little bit surprised he's as low as 8, but I suppose he's one of those whose career straddles the turn of the century.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. Churchy, I don't know if you were there in person or not, but you would have obviously talked about this a lot. I want to take you to Hove. You were there July 17th, 2002. You talked. We talked about Dom Sibley's 300. We talked about KP's 355. There are those standout knocks that people will remember for generations in every generation of a Surrey team. But this is only 117 not out. So if you only consider it on the numbers, it doesn't necessarily stand out in the way that some of the others do. But you were there, Church. So just tell us about that, because you again, anyone who seems to have seen that innings is just speaks about it like something it's something like unlike they will ever see again.
Sort of to put it into context, it was his first game back after Ben had died, so it was an emotional occasion, and he just walked out and smashed it. And actually, afterwards, he gave interviews, and he always gave interviews, but he was. It sounds a strange thing to say. He was more relaxed, and he said, "Listen, it's just cricket. That's all this is, and it's freed me up completely." And no great surprise that Surrey went on in 2003, the first ever T20 to win it, because he basically sat them all down and said, "Just go out there and play and enjoy yourselves, and we'll work it out as we go along." But I'm sure that wasn't the case with Adam at all. And as Yaz said, he read an opposition's weakness very, very quickly. He'd do strange things, and it's the same as you mentioned with Stokes there. People think, what on earth is he doing? But more often than not, they came off. He could change a game with the bat. He could change a game with the ball as well.
Hell of a fielder.
Yeah, he was combative, in your face, in the right way. And yeah, I'm sure there are people that think that Adam should be higher up that list, and you have to remember that this is this century, and his career at that point it was sort of coming to its end, but the influence he's had on this place, and I think he was ahead of his time. I genuinely think Adam Hollioake was ahead of his time in the way that he went about A, playing his own game, and B, captaining a side in cricket.
There's a certain phrase I think that will always be associated with Adam Hollioake, which is pretty well espoused by our number 7 on this list. And I'm going to come to you first on this one, on Kirstie, because our number 7 is someone who we're now lucky enough to call a colleague in the on the Surrey YouTube channel, covering the Surrey domestic cricket now for free on the YouTube channel. And the phrase that Adam is so often espoused is the Surrey strut. And the Surrey strut is both for good and bad. It's a phrase that people have hung around the necks of Surrey for a long time, and it's got that alliteration. It does follow the club around. But yeah, number 7, Ali Brown. I mean, the Surrey strut is something I think that Ali Brown potentially did a fair amount to get someone to come up with that phrase in the first place. But I mean, yeah, the numbers you talked about, the incredible numbers. Kirstie, like what talk to us a little bit about Ali Brown.
Yeah, so just shy of 15,000 first class runs. So
first class
runs. Yeah, obviously. And he's. I think that one iconic innings of his, that 268 in 2002 against Glamorgan, but he was a legend of the game with the white ball, but he played all formats, and again was just a pioneer in terms of actually what he's done for the game. I don't think there was ever a bowling attack that enjoyed bowling against Ali Brown. It would be one of the most celebrated wickets of an innings. Obviously a top order batsman always will be, but if you take the scalp of Ali Brown, job done for the day. You've earned a good pat on the back from your captain. So yeah, and I think he kind of carved the way in terms of white ball cricket and how to go about your business. And he could grind runs out, but he was also there, just accumulating constantly across seasons.
Yeah, we talked about guys like Will Jackson and Jamie Smith and Ollie Pope and modern players, the way they can take the game away from people. Ali Brown was again, we've also talked about people who are ahead of their time. Ali Brown was doing that before it became cool. Also, the only player to ever score 10,000 list day runs for Surrey. 10,358 list day runs.
You never know.
You never know. I mean, looking at this list, there's no one who's close, and I don't think we play. I don't know. People should talk about it more, really. How little 50 over cricket that the top players play these days. I don't know. That's something that seems to have gone under the radar recently.
You're right. He's basically the godfather of the Surrey power play biffer. He struck at 156 in T20 cricket, and he played his last game for Surrey 17 years ago. That is like someone now striking at 200, maybe even more. That's so far ahead of what scoring rates were at the time. And yeah, brilliant player across formats. Should have played way, way, way more for England. And a delight to work with on the Surrey live stream as well.
Yeah,
And he never made it never looked difficult either. He just made it look so easy. Batting was just his area. It was his zone. Like there was no ground that he couldn't bat at.
Churchy, we talked about some of the huge numbers about other innings, but yeah, 268 is a number. You know, if you remember at Surrey, you're going to have a drink in the Ali Brown 268 bar. You know, it's a number that everyone at Surrey has tattooed on their soul, don't they?
Yeah, and the 176 in Surrey's world record.
Yeah, and the 496.
496.
Yeah, and the Guildford 203.
The Guildford 203 kept putting Cardigan Connor in the petrol station for the whole afternoon. Scored 100 in terms of championship cricket. Has scored 100 against every other county. And there aren't many that have done that. My favourite thing about the Lord is Anil Kumble's debut on a flat one at Guildford, and Kumble must have bowled 40 odd overs, none for 100 odd. The Lord put his hand up, came on, picked up 3 straight away. Because he's the Lord, isn't he? He is the Lord. So yeah, wonderful player, ahead of his time. Should have played a lot more for England, and could absolutely destroy you in a couple of hours with the bat.
Yeah, also one of those players you maybe just feel slightly sorry for, because you know if he'd come through even sort of 5 years ago, come through now, he would be fabulously rich.
He would.
He really would.
If he'd been around when there was franchise, he would be living in the Bahamas.
He would
very nearly played for Mumbai Indians
in a solid
there's
gold
a story
house.
that I think he's told on the live stream before, but
Yeah.
he very, very nearly got picked up by the Mumbai Indians.
Early days Mumbai Indians, yeah. But as I say, if he was coming through now, he'd be living in a solid gold house in the Bahamas. Number 6, the last one on episode 4, last one of this episode. Simply put, the king, Kumar Sangakkara.
Maybe not Surrey's best ever player, but maybe the best player to play for Surrey. Wasn't here for very long, but the impact he had was extraordinary. At the end, very, very end of his playing career, very young Surrey side. Him and Batty aside, really, in his record was quite frankly ludicrous. We talked about Pope averaging 60 earlier. Sangakkara averaged 62. I think 1,433 games.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Kirstie, you said Ali Brown made it look easy. I mean, Kumar, what on earth?
Yeah, and think, you know, the thing about Kumar as well is he kind of, you just had to watch. He didn't have to say anything. You just watched, and I think, you know, he had such an amazing presence at the crease, but he was so understated about the way that he just, you know, carried out his business. And I think for me, if you're an overseas player now and you're coming to play for Surrey, and you look at all the overseas players that have played for Surrey, you've got to be thinking, geez, how am I getting, you know, I've got to really show up today, because, you know, some of the names that Surrey have signed as overseas players, you know, and Kumar, again, Surrey, what is it with Surrey wicketkeeper batters that can just, you know, come in and just do a job for a team that, you know, when the team is potentially struggling, or you've got a young team like you did at the time,
just
come
in
in and
this
do what
century,
you did.
just in this century, he's top of a list that includes Ricky Ponting, Graham Smith, Morne Morkel, Anil Kumble, Harbhajan Singh. I'm just listing players that have played first class cricket there for Surrey as well, and you know he's top of that list, and it's not even a discussion who's top of that list. Churchy, you know, we're sat here in the centre of London. You know, you got within an hour's walk of this place, you could get to the National Gallery, you could get to the Tate Modern, you could get to any of the great art galleries in the world, or you could just sit here and watch Kumar Sangakkara bat.
Yeah, and I think, look, take away the runs and take away the cover drive, and it was his influence on the others that there was, and it's no surprise that they won in 2018 after he retired from cricket, and actually his influence still is in this side now. I think, and it was the Ford Sangakkara double act at the start when he arrived, and it was like, right, it's Kumar Sangakkara. I sort of said it with Morne. I'm not sure Kumar would have done it for anybody else. I think it was for G Ford and A Stewart. They obviously sat down with him, came up with the game plan, and he arrived, and from day one he was completely set on what he was doing. He was completely all in, and the number of runs he scored, but the influence he had on the other players, I think was probably the key thing. And no great surprise as well that the following year he sat on Sky interviewing Ollie Pope making his England debut. It was just the Sangakkara influence, Sam Curran, Tom Curran, all these lads that played with him, his influence rubbed off on them. So yeah, I would say that one of the most influential cricketers that Surrey have ever had.
Yeah, and I'd say his influence on Rory Burns as well. You talk about his influence on the on the current side and the three-peat, the 22, 23, 24 championships, and his influence on that.
He wanted Aaron Harinath opening the batting for Sri Lanka.
He did.
It's that we weren't far off that point. He took one look at Harinath and said, "Who's this lad?" And he was really trying to persuade him to sort of get to Sri Lanka and play for Sri Lanka. So, no, I would say to some Sanger up, one of the most influential cricketers that this club has ever had and probably will ever have.
Final point on Sangakkara before we wrap up this episode, Churchy. The 50 over quarter final at Northants.
Ridiculous.
Just tell us about that moment.
Well, basically, he scored all the runs in the run chase.
Yeah, the final ball.
And then nothing against Jade, but then it was his line.
We're talking about Jade Dernbach batting again.
Jade strolled out there with Surrey 9 down in the quarter final, and you could see Kisanga thinking, right, I better do this now. And he played one shot that was absolutely ridiculous. Was it in the last over?
I think it was the final ball of the game.
Was it the final? Was it the final?
I think it was the winning. I think it was the winning strike in the final over.
He went down on both knees and ramped it straight over the keeper's head for 6
into the sight screen.
Deary me. So,
yeah.
Look, as I say, I think the best way you can sum Sangakkara up is one of the most influential players that this club has ever had.
Yeah, if you want to see that shot, go on the Surrey YouTube channel. I think the clip is called "The Most Extraordinary Shot You'll Ever See" from Kumar Sangakkara. It's not hard to find, and it's worth 8 seconds of your time. I'll tell you that for free. You can also see Jade Dernbach jumping up and down at the other end because you can't quite believe that he's had the best seat in the house to see something like that. Episode 4 of the 25 is in the can. Mark Church, thank you. Rana, thank you. Kirstie White, thank you very much. We're going to be back for episode 5, where we're going to take through the top 5. So far, Gareth Batty at 10, Ian Ward at 9, Adam Hollyoak at 8, Ali Brown at 7, Kumar Sangakkara at 6. Some amazing names to come, some big takes to come. Episode 5 coming soon. Take you through the top 5. For now, this has been the 25.